We have a hoot and a holler, an exciting episode for you today. You don't believe it, we've been having a riot on the pre-show and tons to talk about here as we've come live to share with all of you of what's happening in this new reality. What's happening as well in not just investments, but also what's happening in the changes around our work life and our remote life as we look at how things are changing for all of us, whether that be remote working, whether that be remote living, remote learning, everything that we may be doing at a
Yes,
distance.
I have the VCT right now.
It's all digitizing. And we have some very exciting guests who are so excited to join us today. You can hear them in the background champion how much they're excited about being on VCTV with us today. And before we get started, again, audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, do reach out as well. If you would like to be on the show like today as an investor, joining our panel of outstanding investors from around the world to share your thoughts and insights around technologies, industries, and regions around the world. Entrepreneurs, we're less than 90 days, soon to be less than 80 days from the end of the year, looking ahead to 2021. This is the time right now, as we shoot to the end of the year, that you should be out fundraising for your company and getting your products and services in the hands of customers. We have a virtual stage here at VCTV for you to do just that, to get up and pitch us for not only feedback, but also building a foundational relationship with us as investors focused on your area, along with notifying our entire live audience as to what you're building and what opportunities are out there for them. Do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right set of investors and topic for you. And also a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and let's go ahead and get started about talking around what's happening in this new reality as we look at investments again across the board and how things have changed for us on a work and remote life basis as technology starts integrating and playing a bigger role into our lives. With that, Noble, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to see you, my friend. A little intro, a little background for the audience.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Noble Dracone. I've been in the investment space for almost 25 years now, both as a brokerage owner, hedge fund operator, and now, venture or VCAC, credit investor, entrepreneur. And the reality is, we work with two different groups. Dracone Capital Partners, we will work with accredited investors, help people match up with them to raise capital. And we also work with M Accelerator, which is an accelerator incubator in Los Angeles. We also just started our first venture fund, and we're always looking to team up and find great projects to put through the accelerator incubator.
Wonderful. And welcome back to the show as well. And Jason, it's a pleasure to see you as well. That background is all too familiar. We love it. We're excited to see it. If you can, a little intro and a little background for everybody.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me back, Kyle. I've been very active in the entrepreneurial and investment community for the past 20 years in the Midwest region of the U.S. and got into venture capital the last 3-4 years and launched my own venture capital fund last year. It's a seed stage fund focused on investing in Chicago and the greater Midwest across B2B industries such as healthcare, future work, fintech, edtech, and supply chain. So we're looking at pre-seed and seed stage deals. So glad to be here.
Outstanding and very relevant to today's topic again, and what's happening not just in the Midwest, but with each of those industries and how they're relating to the digitized new world that we're living in, whether it be distributed or not. Each of those do have some great impact. Mr. Gary Fowler.
Yes. Good to see you today.
You as well. You as well. You jumped in. I almost had an intro for you.
Grandmaster of hosting, the man of 1,000 faces, the background of backgrounds, the unknowing, the knowing, everything and all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Welcome back. A little intro to those who may not know you, as they now know me.
So, my name's Gary Fowler, and I love AI. In fact, today at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was keynote speaking at a law school in Europe about artificial intelligence to their new class coming in. So there's incredible opportunities out there for each and every one of us. And as I said many times, AI is a new electricity, and every day we're closer and closer. And we need companies that are going to succeed need to understand that they need to look at artificial intelligence, not just AI, but neural nets, deep learning, and really dive into it to make sure that they're competitive. So I am the CEO and president of GSD Venture Studios, Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We curate growth stage AI companies and help them go global. So I've been involved in 2 unicorns. Click Software, I was on the original team of, it was sold for $1.3 billion plus 1.35. And also my latest project, Eva, which is right place at the right time. We started in RemoteTech, Kyle, 2 years ago before COVID. And at the time of COVID, our inbound interest was up 38 times. It's that hot because people are working remotely, right? And they need to have the tools to be able to help. So I'm really excited to be on this show today. And it's great to see my friends, Jason, Noble, Irina, yourself, one more time. It's like a family.
It is. It is. And, it's funny because as you mentioned, the word family here, we are looking at how things have changed in this new reality as we're looking forward in this new distributed or remote lives that we're all living. And we do get the chance to see each other very often. It is in this new world, and it's powered, thankfully, to technology and internet connections, something that, years ago, we may not have been able to do at this type of quality and speed. And most of the time, low latency. Every now and then we get a little surprise, but nonetheless, technology has played a foundational role, bringing each and every one of us together as we're representing 5, 6 locations today as well. And so, Gary, you call that out so well. And with that, I do want to welcome our very last panelist, and hopefully she has the unmute button ready. Irina, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background for everybody, please.
Thank you. Pleasure to be back. I figured I'll dash to my ballet class real quick between the Singapore and now. VCTV Singapore has been also great. You guys are doing a great job. Irina Litchfield, known as a crypto superwoman. I'm president of Lumeria. It's where capital meets innovation. Bringing back small market cap and creating truly global capital markets is what I'm driven by. Innovations, integration of innovations is something that I think is the key. And I'm also owner of Blockchain Cubed, which is blockchain integration company, advisor of a global and pro-chain capital and space fund.
Wonderful. Perfect. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. And let's just dive right in. Investments in the new reality. We've already kind of teased this up. We're looking at our work in remote life. Noble, let's kick it off with you. What are you seeing currently in these areas from your perspective as things have changed over the past, not just a few days, but also the past few months as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's been phenomenal how the embracing of just remote communications has become the normative, particularly for, basically white collar jobs. You still have the blue collar sector, which is being transformed by augmented reality, AI, and integration of technology. But in the white collar jobs, in which a lot of our work was face-to-face meetings and traveling, and Gary just spoke a moment ago. He was doing a keynote speech in Europe, and he never had to leave his living room. So the reality, and the way I always see it, perceive it, is that we're at that point where the next phase of this remote is to get ourselves more tactile in our relationships and being able to do a lot of this Zoom in communications without feeling so removed. And so, there's a lot of cool technology that we've been focusing on that involves either AR opportunities where you're able to see or feel like you're in the room with people, and or haptic. And I like a lot of the haptic opportunities where you're getting immediate feedback from both textile feel, from whether it's clothes or gloves or sensations, so that people can manipulate physical objects all together at the same time. So, we're at that point of where I don't think it's going to go 100% back, regardless of, what happens next, vaccines, no vaccines, etc. But, and then there's a second part to that too. Physically, we deal with a lot of real estate groups that are changing how commercial real estate is being handled. Part of that is that, they used to have huge office parks and, office complexes, but what they've done in the commercial space, and we have several clients that we're talking to now, they've actually started parsing up smaller locations almost as touchdown or almost like Regis style centers for corporations, so that people can have a meeting and a gathering place for a handful of employees, but still be able to go home and work remotely. So just this landscape of these megalithic connection points has changed to these more broken up hub and spoke type operations, both for the internet and for physical. So I think that we're at that phase where people are starting to realize that there's two things: a huge cost economic benefit. It doesn't cost as much to get people moving around. You don't need as much office space, as well as it's a quality issue. People, regardless of the gripes for people being upset being at home, I think a lot of people do like being at home. They do like having the ability to work and operate on their own time frames. My son loves it. He's doing remote schooling. So it's really interesting how this all flows.
It is very interesting. And I think a lot of people, it's just a sudden change. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? It was a very sudden change for many. And for some of us, thankfully, we've had the chance to work remotely for a number of years or for a short amount of time, or in travel, right? It's just a change of pace as well. But I think you're calling out the hub and spoke model, which was a trend we were already building to pretty aggressively over the past almost decade now. And it's really changed even further. Now we look ahead for the next couple of years. But Jason, what are you seeing as the current state from your standpoint, being in the Midwest as well? How are you seeing all of this from a work and remote life investment opportunity?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, some of the things that Noble mentioned, I see, of course, but employers are embracing employees working remotely now. I mean, it's been very common in the tech community for a long time, remote working, but now it's more of commonplace. We're seeing a lot of tech companies here in the Midwest, especially in Chicago, that have raised a good amount of money. They're not renewing their leases or not even expanding into office space. They're just letting their employees work from home. So it's actually cutting down on a lot of costs for these companies. And they're realizing that, as Noble mentioned, people can be effective and efficient, and employees are happy at home. I mean, I've been working remote for off and on for many years, especially in the VC industry. When I started working in VC, we rarely met the investors that invest in our fund, and we rarely met the companies we invested in. We actually used Zoom several years ago, but we didn't use the video aspect of it. So it's interesting. Now everyone's using the video component of it. When we were doing due diligence, we never had the video on. And so I'm also a big in-person event person. I do a lot of events. I do events every month for entrepreneurs and investors, and that's obviously switched pretty quickly. So Zoom and tools like that obviously took over for conversations like this. But there's technologies out there that are really interesting for conferences and for demo days that people are using. I've been a part of several of those, and specifically there's one in Chicago called Gamer Jibe, who graduated from the Founder Institute of Chicago, that created a 3D virtual environment. So we've been doing events with them for the last 5 months, and it's you walk around in your own avatar, meeting people one-on-one. You can have video, voice, and text chat. You can have small group discussions. You can have startup demos. Really unique way to continue doing these monthly events that we've been doing for so long virtually. And I believe this is all here to stay. There's going to be a blend of this. It's a hybrid, but virtual is been accelerated because of all this. And all these big conferences, South by, all these big conferences for next year are going virtual as well. And, it's cutting costs down a lot, but there's still a pent up demand of in-person interaction. But the tools and everything is out there for this, is finally here. It's finally accepted for people to be doing things this way, especially in education. My kids are doing remote learning. They're going to be going back to school soon, but they're going to be blending it. And the fact is, ed tech is an area of interest as well for my fund, as well as future of work. So it's exciting stuff. It's all been accelerated right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back on that. You threw out a few nuggets. I'm gonna come back to those in just a little bit. But Gary, to you, what are you seeing as the current state of things today?
Well, I mean, we're driven by where we are right in our situation. So we've got this at the beginning of this, Kyle, remember, it doesn't seem a long time ago in the beginning of the pandemic. It sounds like a long time ago in a far distant galaxy.
I would say it's the beginning of a Star Wars. I mean, this is like 20 decades we've been going through almost.
I mean, I remember back when you couldn't get toilet paper. So, it seems that long ago, Now it's kind of funny, but at the time it was pretty damn important, wasn't it? So
absolutely.
So, we're in a stage right now where we started this transition. And as I've said many times, the companies that embrace this transition are going to win. So Eva is a company that I co-founded 4 years ago. We started out in Google Like Search for the personal cloud. Then we went to a task assistant and then to remote workforce management. Well, we did it over 2 years ago. So this is before COVID. We understood that this was a trend that was going to happen. And then it's amazing. Now think about the companies in the Valley that have really forced their employees to work from home. And they didn't have really any plans in place of how to be able to manage those employees. And think about it. You're right. I think it was Noble was saying in terms of people being home, how much it's changed. You're right. People do like it. At the same time, I don't know if you're like me, but I get out and drive my car around, and I never used to just drive it to go around the block. I mean, or go to the park. It's like weird, but we've changed our lives. And a lot of times things have gone back to the way they used to be. The difference that we have now compared to the Spanish flu of 1918 is that we do have this communication, and probably Zoom saved the world in a lot of ways. And I'm sure, Eric, if you're listening to this, in fact, I'll send him a note that I said it, but Zoom has really saved us because we still have an ability to be able to communicate. Those workers, and I just read some figures now. I mean, in the third quarter this year, the economy started to come back. It was unprecedented. It wasn't supposed to come back as fast as it did. We have really shifted, and I'm happy because this was a 10-year process according to McKinsey, and now it's happened in a 7-month, 8-month period of time. It's incredible. So I love it. In terms of Viva, at the beginning of this whole environment, our business is up, inbound interest 38x, 38. And we have some stellar customers. So companies like Dentsu, Mercury, Deloitte, LATOKEN. So we've got some interesting partnerships and customers around the world. So I see this as the challenge is the companies that don't adapt to it and resist it are going to fail.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the pushback against change, the resistance to adjust, even if it's a portion, because in all respects, right, not everyone's business may fit exactly into a very remote or distributed fashion, but not to even look at it, not to even consider it, not to even find a small amount of adjustment, to Gary's point, you're at a loss. And if you don't do it soon enough, you're going to be behind. But again, everyone moves at their own pace, but this is not a time to just shy away and not look at this. This is a time to embrace. And to Gary's point, Zoom, a lot of companies stepped into that light, made adjustments, as Jason mentioned, around the event space, and others as well. Noble had touched on, made those adjustments, started looking at how it could, and we all stumbled on our way through it. We're starting to smooth out that process, which as well, to Jason's point, this is something that is going to be a blend. It is something that will continue on, and for how long or for how much, what that percentage is, we don't know yet, and we will see, but we're getting there. And Arena, to you, what are you seeing as the current state?
I agree with you guys. We're definitely are in now, and those who had doubts that it's going to be part of our lives are undeniably now forced into this reality. So we just accept it, and now, as you said, let's embrace it. And I see a lot of interesting kind of open-mindedness from employers, kind of thinking, okay, so things are going to be a little bit different, but we need to bring a little bit more professionalism to our environments, right? Because in the end of the day, it's great, but the tools that we have to do the work are kind of not there. For example, if you want to do presentation, you know, the traditional keynote presentation when you're speaking, and we talk about it at on the Singapore, there's, I guess, company that's called Hum or something, or Muhum, I don't know. But basically it's a keynote projection of your presentation behind you, right? So, and it is something that is simple, but we really need this because we always present, and presenting, you know, being able to stand and present and speak and kind of embrace that what we are used to doing is not there. And so now what we're seeing is that, okay, for $10,000, you can buy this pod, okay, that you can put it on your backyard, and it allows you to have your own private space. That way we can allow an employee to have their office, which actually equipped with the, you know, soundproof, so they make a good sound. It has a drop on the back for them to be able to have, you know, to have the graphics that they need to have to do the presentation that they need, the microphone that they need, maybe some kind of a biohacking tools to, so this new interesting cool ways of what this office looks like, the home office looks like. And basically economically, it makes a lot of sense because you buy this and they just have it, right? It's much cheaper to do that than paying for their office for all of this overhead. And then also it's removable. You can pick it up and move it. And so it's a great model. I like that model. And we're starting to pivot. One of the things that I see is that we need, in this space too, we now have opportunity to redesign the way we do work, right? And rearrange. And it's a great opportunity because before, well, we knew the matrix that, you know, some people perform better, different people perform better in the different timelines, and, you know, your biological clocks and all that. And so, you know, it's the productivity is how you do work. It's not how much time you do the work. Now it's proving to be a reality. So the matrix for that, I think, are important. So some kind of technology that allows us to capture that productivity, I think, in a new workplace is that little tech that I want to see.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because just about 2 days ago, Microsoft actually came out with an announcement for Microsoft Teams, a big change on their competitor to Slack, that they were going to introduce the virtual commute function that was going to help reduce or attempt to reduce on stress, and also continue notifications. Because one of the downsides, and it is a downside, I would love to hear the arguments otherwise, but it is a downside, is that the problem with working from home as of right now is there is no direct commute. So people have been working more and have been, whether they know it or not, we all have been putting in more hours. And because of that, we're starting to see the difficult blend between what is personal time and what is work time. So that decompression moment is really lost. Or has been lost among some. And Microsoft Team has come out with this virtual commute function where you can put in time that is your virtual commute. It's when you can focus on wellness, it can focus on your health, focus on your time before you're notified of any of the notifications. So from, say, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., you're on your virtual commute, 8 a.m., you're in the office. So that way you can start to create a balance, because to Jason's point of this blend, it's great, but we still need separation. We still need to be able to have the separation of work-life balance. Doesn't matter if it's achievable or not. That's a different argument. But we still need to have that separation. And at one point, you know, we'll see more integration of all these worlds that we live, but we still need that moment to check away. And Noble, I want to come to you on this next. Is, you know, where are the opportunities that people are forgetting about in this? Because AR, VR actually plays a very unique role, I would say, as we look ahead to the future of work and remote life. But where are you seeing areas of opportunity that people should be focusing on as they prepare for the decade ahead?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, you know, I like the idea of work-life balance, but I don't think there has to be work-life even. Right. I think there's a confusion on what that means. For some people, you know, it's 70-30, some people 80-20, some people 90-10. So I think that, you know, we have to be very cautious that America used to be primarily agrarian. There was no quote unquote work-life balance. Farmers live on their farm, work on their farm. Irina understands this. And there's no separation between your life and your work. You just all blends and melts together. I think that the question is more of how does that impact your health? And as opportunities kind of flow, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's these really unique set of opportunities that deal with mental health that are very unique and special that people are starting to find. To give you an example, we deal and we focus on pre-seed and seed opportunities all the time. And there's a lot of groups that are setting up these LCSW or licensed clinical social worker online just kind of chats. So people can talk to individuals who they don't necessarily need full-blown psychiatric help, which is important and key, but they definitely want to talk to a therapist of some sort to kind of sort through their emotional life, their work life, etc. And so that whole entire career space is getting almost a renaissance, because before, with the licensed clinical social workers, it wasn't considered as key. There's key roles that they play in both the hospital and hospice, but the people who have marriage family therapist licenses are fit in that same category. And so they're actually finding ways to communicate with people, and they're doing it through the internet and still being able to comply with HIPAA. So there's been some really interesting, I guess almost at a, we're hard science people, we like tech and everything, but some soft science opportunities that have intersected with technology that are just helping people. There's therapeutic, there's one company that came across our desk. They have a therapeutic kind of eyewear that allows for people to have biofeedback for their mental health and allows them to just be left, right brain even. And they've done it in a unique way, utilizing augmented reality. And they've taken some of the things that AR has been done to help people with PTSD who are former military, but in this instance, they're applying it just to everyday people who just want to get what you just mentioned, that whole mental work-life balance. So there's this whole new movement of the human being and how to help human beings be more part of the human part instead of just being. And I like that space a lot. Some of it's kind of odd. And anybody who's on LinkedIn, I don't know if you guys get hit up. I don't know if it's my chubby face or something, but I've been reached out by at least 20 different personal trainers on LinkedIn. I don't think that's probably the best platform, but I get what they're trying to do and give people the remote ability to improve their health and have a quality of health. And they're finding new verticals. So I think there's just some really cool ways that people are trying to find to help people. And those spaces I like.
Well, and Irina brought it up too, right? Everyone, we're finding a new way of work in that sense, right? People are on different schedules and now have a little bit more, not fully, and that's okay at the moment, have a little bit more flexibility in being able to work in those optimal timeframes or in their optimal environments, right? Whether that be the home, whether that be somewhere else, we're still working through that. But that optimization, we're starting to see a shift to. And again, back to Jason's point of blending, we're starting to see that as things change. So you don't necessarily, because you're in one time zone, have to work those time zone hours as much anymore. That actually you can be both beneficial to yourself and maybe to your company or business, working something slightly different as well, and being able to take those mental breaks for your own health and wellness at different times than say 5 o'clock, because the clock is struck and it's the end of the day. Instead, you can kind of have that flexibility and still get things done, which is definitely a dramatic change. Gary, I want to come to you real quick before I jump back to Irina on that. I mean, you started two companies that live and breathe, and a few others, I'm sure, but two very important companies that live and breathe this industry. I mean, what made you drive into that, and what other areas of opportunity are you starting to see around these industries?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like, again, I always say, keep it simple, stupid time, right? People have to work remote. They're going to have to be managed. We got to figure out, and you're right about touch points, to figure out how they're doing, sentiment analysis. How's that person doing? How they're relating to the customers? And the other thing is, Kyle, you know, we used to have this informal time going out to a Starbucks or Pete's Coffee or whatever, and we don't have that anymore. And that was kind of like the time that you could like informally develop a relationship with your coworkers, and we don't have that. I mean, I have not seen that yet on Zoom, but those kind of things are they're missing part of really developing that deeper relationship with a company. We're going to have to figure that out, and so that's one of the areas I think it's interesting, and that hits with Noble's point. I think you have biofeedback and all kinds of ways to ascertain it. The other thing is I'm seeing technology companies that are looking at things, behavior analysis, and looking at how you act on Zoom so they can determine what kind of, how you're feeling. So part of it is understanding what you're writing on email, you know, your files and folders within the corporation to understand what's going on, or Salesforce. But the other part is, what are you doing? You know, 73% of what we do plus is body language. How you acting? How do you feel about it? How do you keep people's attention? So those are companies that's really interesting for me that are really pushing the gate on that side of it. The other part of it is, if we look at this whole idea with WorkTech, I mean, this is just, we're in the infancy. At EVA, we're really fortunate that I started with my partner, David, a couple of years ago, focused on remote workforce management. I mean, I never dreamed that COVID was going to happen and that we would be at the right place at the right time, but that's the way it is. So when I talk to people around the world all the time, they're talking about what's the future of work, the future of work. What's it going to look like? How do I take care of my folks? How can I understand now that people are working a lot more efficiently. And by the way, the difference now, Kyle, you can track it. You know how much time they're spending online, right? Those kind of tools are coming out that really audit the amount of time. So where is this going to go? We're going to develop closer relationships. Instead of having that conference room behind you, we're going to be sitting at that conference room together, right? In holographic images. We're going to start making this real, and it's going to happen sooner than later. And I see it now with AI companies that I'm talking to from all over the planet. Those kind of technologies that make it real. So we're coming across that. We're crossing the chasm with that. We probably got another year, maybe 2 years. And if Eric doesn't do it from Zoom first, I'd be surprised. I'm not saying any secrets. I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And it is, on one side of it, as you said, we focus on work. We're more efficient. On the other side, I think it's also true that we've developed some closer family relationships. I bought a bike, my 14th bike a couple of weeks ago. The bike came out for 2021. It was sold out in a week for the whole year. A week. So it's crazy. People are using time. I don't know if you're like me, but when I have any time, I do have meetings stacked back to back, but I've got 15 minutes or half an hour. I ride a bike or jump in the pool. Seriously. Because I want a break. You know, and I'm much more efficient because I'm not wasting time commuting. When I'm at my house out in Silicon Valley, it takes me 2 hours sometimes to go from my place in San Jose up to Mountain View, Palo Alto. Seriously, 2 hours it can be. And then I'm coming back. If I hit traffic at the wrong time, if I don't go late, it's another 2 hours. I'm sitting in traffic 4 hours, you know, and I don't want to be on the phone because there's too much traffic on 101, right? I've saved that amount of time, and I'm not wasting time sitting in the office waiting for traffic to slow down. I don't know how many of you here are like that, but it's like crazy. Now I don't have to worry about that. And the other thing is my expenses with cars are a lot less. I hardly drive my cars anymore.
It's true. It's true. And, you know, back on the the holographic part, I mean, we just had Facebook recently announce their new office, we'll say, the VR office space that will be introduced through Oculus and through some of their other subsidiaries and parent or sister companies as well. And so it's exciting to see that, as you're right, this is something that's coming. And, you know, whether we see the early days in a year to our full mass adoption in the next couple of years, regardless, it's here. And if you're looking at placing bets, these are some of the areas that you should be paying attention to. Arena, to you, where else are you seeing areas of opportunity?
Emotional fitness for kind of a measuring for measuring productivity, if you would, right? So now that we understand, we have more technology that allows us to, you know, measure let's say, our states and understand how the sound waves affect our bodies, our health, how lights affected. These pods that I was referring to actually have, let's say, a chair at which you go in and you sit, and it has like a light. It's just a 15-minute. It's a 15-minute biohacking technology, right? Transformative technology, and we're going to have a transformative technology discussion soon. So, guys, if you're, right. So I think that's really important because productivity matters and overworking matters. And right now we're at the point where people do not get up and go for a walk from hallway to hallway to kind of just refresh their mind and unplug for a little bit. They're constantly plugged in. And even when they're unplugged from work, they plug into this personal plug-inness. And so they constantly are plugged in and nonstop wear themselves out. For employees, it's important to have a balance. For employers, it's important to have a measuring and understanding how and making sure that your employees are actually getting that emotional fitness, because your productivity is highly tied to emotional wellness. And so I really, really like those measurings to really understanding how you're productive. I'd rather you spend 20% of your time and do super productive work, okay, than spend 80% of your time and constantly make mistakes that somebody has to go and to uncover and and fix, and then you feel bad about your product work and all that. So to me, these are kind of a big opportunities because the corporations are looking for that. They're looking to be able to buy the spots, to be able to buy the tools, to be able to really kind of understand how do they make sure that people are not start dropping, productivity matters.
Absolutely. Jason, to you, you mentioned a number of areas that you're investing in, and where are you seeing between those and others areas of opportunity that people should be paying attention to before we hit the lightning round?
Yeah, I think this, virtual event space is very interesting. There's a lot of technologies, and there's people targeting, events for entrepreneurs, for companies. There's more corporate solutions or corporate focus, where people can have team meetings, private meetings. They can, can have a conference. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and there's, new tools coming out. So I think it's pretty interesting. There's going to probably be some consolidation in the industry in the next couple of years, but I see that people are experimenting and trying new things, and some will win out over others, but they're all very different. Well, not super different. Some are very different than others, but there is definitely an interesting influx of some of those tools. This company I was talking about that we've done the 3D virtual events with, they started doing this in November before, COVID was here. So the timing was perfect for them. They're getting an influx of business as a result of what's happened. And so, so I'd say that is definitely an area of growth for sure. The virtual reality stuff is interesting. I can't wait till I can sit on the sidelines of a football game, NFL game from my house with my friends. I'm waiting for that to happen. I hope it's here soon. I think the NBA, you can do that already, I believe, but I'm waiting for football for that to happen. And again, stuff like that's it's going to save a lot of costs for people, a lot of time. Yeah. Gary mentioned he saved time in commute. I don't commute to downtown Chicago right now, and I'm saving an hour and a half to 2 hours each way as well. So that more efficient, and then I'm busier at the same time. So I'll stop there so you can do your lightning round.
Well, and hopefully it's a good busy. To Gary's point,
is.
while we have a little bit good, because as we have this time, we want to be able to use it efficiently, right? Want to be able to have a little bit of a break. To Arena's point, want to be able to figure out where that balance is for us, whether it's 70-30, 50-50, 90-10 to Nobles, and that to both you and Gary, we're finding new ways to enjoy it, whether it be biking in between meetings, or it's finding new business opportunities and continuing to push yourself into new areas of education and of business as well. So to each of you all, thank you so much for tuning in today. And I want to come to each of you for any quick closing thoughts, and then where can everyone find you? So Mr. Fowler, we're going to start with you. Quick closing thoughts, if you have any left. where can everyone find you online?
Yeah. So AI is the new electricity. Companies that have transportable AI models are very, very interesting. I've been on a panel earlier today in Europe. We were talking about transportable AI. So love it. Use it. Can be used in other environments. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, at LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. I've got several podcasts that are out there, and please tune in. You can check gsdvs.com and find out what our schedule's like. Thanks, Kyle. It's been great.
Thank you very much. And definitely check out Gary's show if you haven't already. He's got some outstanding guests, a few that he's only teasing out, but really he's got some outstanding guests on that show and definitely worth checking into as well. Irina, to you, where can everyone find you? Any quick closing thoughts that you have?
Google me, message me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'll do that. And closing thoughts, just keep reimagining the workplace. And if you have ability to maybe consult and create solutions for big corporations to allow them to adapt in an innovative way to this new reality, I think those are kind of a low pickings. And for VR, my wish list is to have arms, so that way we can actually have arms. I think that will be a huge leap.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Noble. With that, perfect tee up to you. Any quick closing thoughts, and where can everyone find the master of AR and VR?
Yeah, Irina, that's what I was talking about. That's the haptic clothing. They actually have vests and suits that'll give you the biofeedback that we're looking for. Quick closing thought, it's funny, right? Both Gary and Jason talked about how they didn't like sitting in traffic. And yet we're talking about that was also the mental downtime that we used to have, right? The 4 hours, the 2 hours, hour and a half, in which you're able to just kind of mull over things. They say that boredom is actually necessary for human beings in order to innovate. And it's one of the things that's built into us that allows us to be creative. And we're lacking our boredom time. I think that there's so many verticals, whether it's consulting or diversity issues, that this whole thing is just really, we're in a whole new phase, and it's one of the best times ever, to be honest. In adversity, there's opportunity. So, it's easy to reach out to me. LinkedIn's easy, Noble Dracone on LinkedIn. That's usually the easiest place for me to respond back. You can also reach me on Twitter, just my last name, Dracone. At Dracone. And, again, as always, happy to be here. Happy to see Irina, Gary, Jason, you, Kyle. So, and the whole LATOKEN team.
Wonderful. Thank you, Noble. Jason, to you, any quick closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, one of my mentors said it's work-life alignment versus work-life balance. So think about that, how there really is not a work-life balance anymore because we bring work to home, we're working at home. So it's more about aligning work and life together. So I think a lot of these tools out there definitely can help us with that. And you can find me on LinkedIn, probably the best place as well. So thank you as well, Kyle and the LATOKEN team, for having me.
Wonderful. And again, thank you all for joining us today here on another edition of BCTV. And to you, our audience, if you like what you heard today, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor to share your thoughts and insights with us about technologies, industries, and regions around the world. Thank you, Irina. And as an entrepreneur, if you'd like to jump up on the virtual stage that we have here at VCTV and pitch us as investors, your product, your service, and have real-time feedback along with building that initial relationship with us as well and our live audience, we'd love to have you. Do reach out to the team and or myself. We'll find the right spot for you. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. Thank you again to each and every one of you as our panelists today and outstanding investors. Make sure you check out each and every one of them online, as we all live in the digital world 24/7, 365. Check out their shows, check out their companies, check out their funds as well. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me online at Kyle Ellicott. Everyone have a wonderful day. We'll be back here tomorrow for more VCTV. Thank you, Gary. Bye, everybody.